Dawning, or perhaps this narrative right now that what we saw in the last 3 years was unusual in terms of the ferocity of the bull market, and it's time to be more realistic about what returns you can get from Indian equities. Are you in that camp as well?
Yeah, I mean, last 4 years since COVID, from 2020 to 24, were exceptional in the sense that nobody knew that, post-COVID we would have such a significant revival in earnings growth in India. And, I've been at pains to explain that, people generally hang their hat that this bull market is driven by domestic liquidity. Obviously, domestic liquidity is very important, but Nifty earnings compounded at 25% those 4 years, and the broader markets, the NSE 500 earnings compounded at a staggering 35% plus. That's why we saw the ferocity and the breadth of the market was very, very good. But now in the first half of this year, we've hit a little bit of a patch where earnings growth at a very broad level is down to flat, right? And therefore, given the fact that valuations were not exactly cheap, and the fact that we've hit a little bit of a speed bump in our growth trajectory, means that the markets need to pause, consolidate, before we see recouping some of that earnings momentum. So I think, to be fair, the economy lost some momentum in the second quarter. I think the markets will wait to see whether we regain that momentum, both in economic growth as well as in earnings growth, right? Because, as we all say, that markets are a slave of earnings in the end of the day. In between, there are always narratives, so, we can have good fun, but I think the reckoning comes every quarter when the earnings numbers come in. And then the markets have to reconcile with that. So, yeah, I think we shouldn't complain. We've had a great 3-4 years, and we should probably pause a little bit, consolidate a bit. And if the earnings come back, let me tell you, even before the earnings come, the markets will signal that to you, because typically markets tend to get a whiff of that much earlier.
Oh, that's true. That market intelligence and that collective intelligence is definitely there. Just